just curious of how the heck am I going to fit more than 28 seasons of Power Rangers into 20 minutes quick impressions? Yeah, I really, I screwed myself there. Hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, where each and every episode of What's in the Tube, we do a review, mostly episode by episode, of a currently on air show. Sometimes we do season by season reviews of shows that have wrapped up or are currently on the air still, but just there's a lot to work with, or doing these quick impressions. This is very unique because we're talking about Power Rangers. Honestly, I'm debating, like, how the heck, if you're unaware, Quick Impressions is where for 20 minutes or less, we talk about a show, something that I watched recently, or just something, mostly something recently that I've watched, and I just talk about it for a couple minutes, and then just see if anyone else has watched it, because like there's always like just weird patterns of things. I'm talking about Power Rangers because Dino Fury, it's really good. And that's weird to say, like, Power Rangers, like, when you bring it up, it's like, oh my god, like, it's such a niche group. And honestly, I'm just done with it. I'm tired. Like, Power Rangers should honestly be on a different level. Because, let me take it back for a little bit. It's kind of weird to talk about Power Rangers in a way, because basically the premise is kids are superheroes in shiny, flashy costumes. They have a very complicated morph sequence, and they pilot giant robots. That is basically the premise you can fit into any one of the Power Rangers series, from whether it's from Mighty Morphin all the way to Dino Fury. And for me, again, it's crazy that we've even reached a 28th season. Well, a 28th season, 29th season this year. And I'm just thinking to myself, when I was a kid, like watching Power Rangers back when Dino Thunder was the current season I was watching. That was my first season. Well, technically, I knew of it since Ninja Storm, but Dino Thunder was the first time I bought the VHS tapes, but that's how I consumed it back then, because I knew it was on Jetix, but I never really got around with the TV remote, weirdly enough, because it was a weird air block for that one. So I always thought that owning it on VHS was the only one, and I did a weird complicated thing where I got Volume 1 on VHS, Volume 2 on DVD, Volume 3 on VHS, you can keep going from there, and then it just stops after Volume 5, and that's it. The rest, I never found out until it eventually aired on TV randomly one day. And then like the more I kept going, getting older, like there's just been so many eras of Power Rangers, like the original era, then like I'm going to call it the franchise era, the Disney era, the Neo Saban era, now the Hasbro era, and I lived through so many eras that there's just never been a consistent factor to it, which really sucks, because like there were moments where like Power Rangers was on top, but they never took advantage of it. And it was always, like, no offense at the times of the writing or the season, it was always poor in my opinion. And then when you finally got, the quality was there, but no one was watching. And I was just thinking to myself, why? And I'm hoping right now with Hasbro, who has taken such toy licenses like Transformers, and has done a lot with them. They have done movies, they have done TV shows, they have done multiple toy lines, and it's still going. And it's reached kids and some adults, not everything. And I feel like right now Power Rangers is mostly an adult show, because at this point, a lot of the adults are just curious, like, what is the next season? How are they going to keep this going? Because I won't give spoilers, but like, there's just so many errors to things, like, you get pulled around in so many different directions, where, for me, starting in my era, like my original Disney era, like, Disney era was always such a weird thing looking back on it, because, obviously you have the legacy of the franchise there, and they were very selective on what they did, where they just did their own thing. They were most of the time self-contained, or just referencing their fellow Disney peers in terms of their seasons. And a good amount of the time, you get a very great season of the season, and then of the show, and then you get to the very piss poor seasons like Overdrive, or, sad to say, for me, I didn't really like Ninja Storm that much, in my opinion. I know it was the first season for them, but like that was just like, it was a work in progress, to be honest with you. That really was my take on it. But I feel like back then, like that was when Power Rangers like had the most promotion, where you got promos of episodes, you got to be very interactive with things. And I don't know if it was Power Rangers, but I remember Jetix did this promotional game where you would watch an episode of some show, and then that you get a code, at the end of the episode, and then I would normally run to the first. If anyone remembers this game, please let me know. I don't remember it 100%, but I still remember like doing. I think it was related to Power Rangers at the time, like one of the shows that they had an episode in the morning, and then they would air a code afterward. I think that's how it was for me. I don't entirely remember. But Dino Thunder was the first season that I got into, and then SPD was the first time I watched week to week. Like I remember seeing those episodes live, and then you get to Mystic Force, and then sadly Overdrive, and then even I was so confused, like who's this Wind Ninja Ranger, who's this older dude? Like I didn't know, because that was kind of like the first spark of like, oh, there's a lot of like, obviously like the Legacy of Power episode, the 500 episode of the Power Rangers, and then Once a Ranger, like it showed me like there's a lot of seasons that even I still haven't finished. I haven't even gotten to all of them yet. I'm 24 years old right now. I still haven't gotten to all the Power Rangers seasons. I had a chance to do them all on Netflix, and I completely missed the bandwagon because I was a freaking stubborn person. And then I think that you get the point where like you start to grow out of your childhood, you start to do something else, something more mature and not kid related, and then you come back to it like years later, like after Jungle Fury. RPM was on ABC Family. It was on I didn't know how to get that channel. I was like, okay, I'm done with Power Rangers. I'm just done. And that's where around the time Disney ended Power Rangers production, so there was no new seasons being produced. And I thought, okay, that was it. And then Samurai came around. Then like the Neo Saban era came around, which the benefit of the Neo Saban era is that at least for what my eye view of it is, you get to Nickelodeon, and they had like multiple different shows. You had Nickelodeon, then you had Teen Nick, and then you had Nick at Night, and then you have Nick 2, and then you had multiple Nick channels in their resources. So not only did they have new episodes of Power Rangers each and every week, well, almost each and every week, but you had that backlog of catalog, and they honestly, I think that was the best time to really hype that up, to really get the fan base going again, where they cared about the franchise, and they had like the space to air the episode, but they never really took up. Like that was the case where like they lost the fans in terms of the reception, because when they were at their all-time high in terms of ratings, it was Samurai and Megaforce, and those two seasons. And again, I know I'm an adult. I know I'm not the audience for it. But even if older seasons of Power Rangers, which was, I know at the end of the day, these are kids' shows. Kids don't really care 100% of the time about story. But at the end of the day, you're adapting the show from Japan, and they're kids' shows too. And they have storyline. They actually have real 1-year story arcs, and they tell almost a complete story. Power Rangers started like that, where from Mighty Morphin all the way to just even to like RPM, you still had a consistent story that you were watching week from week. You are watching these characters develop, and then you get to Samurai and Megaforce, and those were kind of lame. If I'm being nice, that's the nicest way I could put it. It was lame. I did not enjoy it at all. And then Dino Charge was like, oh my god, now you're back on track, but you already lost the viewership. Because most of the time when you lose a fan, that's it. Like 90% of the time, you don't get them back. Or you don't get them back live. Maybe they'll binge it years down the line when you have more content to air, but most of the time, it just becomes like the next binge. Like, oh, when you guys have another season on Netflix, I'll go watch it. But you lose them. Because when time is so valuable in everyone's life, whether you're a kid, whether you're a teenager, whether you're an adult, even a senior citizen, time is very limited. You want to spend that time correctly. For me, when I'm watching live TV, to watch a show takes time out of my day, especially if I'm doing these reviews. I need to schedule it out. And that show has to be either great or it's not worth it. It really isn't. And most of the times, for me, I go back to it at some point, but most of the time, I just don't get back to it. And then you just see the range drive from Samurai all the way to like now with the current season, Dino Fury on Nickelodeon, which is another reason they moved into to Netflix. I don't know why I said like to Netflix. I don't know what's up there, but it's just you just don't get that quality anymore. That not quality. You don't get that consistency anymore when you have Dino Charge, which was really which was better than the last two seasons combined, and then you get Ninja Steel, which was like okay. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't Samurai Megaforce quality. It really wasn't. And I honestly skipped through a decent amount of the filler episodes of Ninja Steel because it was just worth it. And then Hasbro took over. And then you finally get to this is someone that cares about the past. They really do. But right now it's a lot of hard work because you were just dealing with so much baggage. Because with both Beast Morphers and Dino Fury, one of the positive things that I love about it is their consistency to both honoring the old and trying to do something new. Where you would get a lot more references to the older seasons, and everything matters, everything's canon, and you start to see like the TLC and the attention they put in there to every season, going from Beast Morphers onwards. That by the time you get to Dino Fury, it's like, oh my god, why aren't more people watching this? And it sucks because by this point, like, yeah, kids have kind of moved on. It's Power Rangers sounds cool, but it's kind of getting difficult because you lost so much of the goodwill of the fan base. Where when you started the show back in the 90s, like that was just, we're starting this franchise. We had this amazing streak with the original era. Then you started getting to like, we're going to start doing our own thing every year. And that was creative and that was different. Especially with Time Force, someone with Wild Force, and then Disney took over, and then like you had the consistency of like having a new episode every week on a platform, but you just didn't really get the same love from the studio or the network that you would like to. You didn't get that support system as well as from other shows. And then when you finally go back to the guy who cared about you at the start, and you had the most opportunity to do so much more and grow the IP, and you besmirk it at the start of your new era when you just decide to get, it's Power Ranger, we'll copy and paste from the Sentai, just translate it to English from Japan, Shinkenger, Gosenger, Golkaija, just do an American version, just do it in English, that's it, they don't care. And then you lose the goodwill, you lose it, and because kids look at you, kind of boring, like the action's fine, but the characters they don't really interest me, so I'm like, switch to another channel. It happens. It sadly happens. Like when you get someone's attention, you have to keep it. You have to find a way to keep them engaged. Otherwise, they go on to another thing. Again, time is a key component here with this show and then any other show. You need to invest your time to watch a product, whether that is week to week or binging it. You need to be invested in it. If you're not invested, who cares? Just move on to something else that's investful. And it really does suck because, I'm very hopeful that Hasbro still turns the ship around with their upcoming reboot. Whether that means, everything is not canon anymore, or, just we're doing something new. Power Rangers deserves a lot of love. And especially, I love the toy line right now. I'm Lightning Collection. Go check out our other channel, The Collection Compass, if you want to see more about that. That is something they're really achieving out well, because of just the quality and the care and just the consistency. I love that. And the attention they're doing in the shows right now, that I know eventually those shows are going to stop eventually, but when they get to the new stuff, I really hope if they ever get any sort of the big attention they did back in the early 2010s, which sounds crazy for me to say because we're in the 2020s now. I'm getting old. The 2010s are a thing now. If they can somehow capture that attention again, Power Rangers can go on a whole new level. I know times are changing, but if you adjust with the times, you will get there. And for me, I still watch Power Rangers. Dino Fury is a good show. It is really good. The acting is okay at best. But they really care about the source material, and they care about these characters, and they all have real personalities. They have storylines, and you want to know what happens next. And so far, they're just honoring the legacy perfectly. They're doing just a matter of we're doing our own thing, but as well at the same time, we're acknowledging what has happened in the past. And that's all you can do right now with Power Rangers, especially you're in this new nostalgic era of even 90s or 2000, early 2000s, those are nostalgic now. And when you have the audience there, you really want to keep them hooked on it. Otherwise, again, you're just going to lose them and you're going to ruin an IP that was ripe with potential. Yeah. I mean, in general, I know this was kind of a weird quick impressions because I like Power Rangers. Power Rangers is not going to be this Emmy award winning show, but it's enjoyable. If you pick the right seasons, you are honestly surprised at how much they can do with these characters and how much you can care about them. I'm not saying every season's like that. There's a lot of seasons where I feel it's passable. I don't really need to watch it. But eventually, if you're just interested in action and fighting robots, it's the perfect show for you. It really is. It might be kid friendly at times, and it might be kid inducing at times, but it is something that you just go accustomed to. You really do, even as an adult. There's a lot of adult Power Ranger fans out there, and they're not ashamed to admit it. I ain't. It doesn't change my elements of me. It doesn't change my perspective of me at all. But, yeah. So, that's all I can say about it. Power Rangers is kind of weird to collect right now. You can get all the older seasons up to RPM from Shout Factory. You can get the newer seasons up to Ninja Steel from Lionsgate, the later seasons are kind of like question mark. You can find Beast Morphers, Dino Fury, and Mighty Morphin on Netflix, but that's about it. Some of the YouTube channels upload like episode ones, but not episode twos. It's kind of weird to watch Power Rangers right now. My best bet is collect all the DVDs of the Ninja Steel and then go binge them. Beast Morphin. It's weird. Pick your favorite season, whatever genre they have that interests you. They have dinosaurs, they have animals, they have ninjas, they have samurais, they have all sorts of different combinations and different themes that you'll find the one that fits you. Whether it is an old school classic or a new modern one, you'll find the one. Just skip Megaforce. Like just skip Megaforce. You don't have. But let me know in the comments below. What was your history with Power Rangers? What is your perspective of things? Do you still love it today? Did you fall off on it? Let me know. I'm down for a conversation down below. If you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX, talking about Power Rangers in a quick impressions format. If you want to know what we're doing normally in What's the Two, we're normally doing episode reviews each and every week. One of our currently airing shows. I'm not sure when this is going live 100%, but we're always doing something each and every week, so go check us out on youtube.com/ActionX videos. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live. Please also like, favorite, share this review if you like it, if you want to. And please also follow us on social media to stay up to date with any sort of updates for your channel. For our channel, I'm losing my English there. But again, until next time, stay safe out there, be good to each other. And as always, I'm not going to do it some more free time. I'm not. That's just too cringy for me to do. I apologize. Peace out.